complex health problems of homeless people, we talked about this before, they have inability to obtain adequate rest because their sleeping arrangements vary from day to day. Exercise, nutrition, medication. Anecdotally, a lot of my homeless patients have really great triglycerides because they're always on the move, they're always walking all day. They have terrible health in general, and even cholesterol-wise, it's high because of their diet. But triglycerides-wise, that gets, and your HDL, that's your good cholesterol, gets affected a lot by exercise, and they tend to have decent numbers that way, but the bad cholesterol, the LDL, tends to be pretty crazy high. So healthcare has actually been increasingly moving to the community because what did these vulnerable populations, how do they tend to get their welfare before, or their healthcare before these community programs opened up? They waited until things were really bad and went to the ER, right? Going to the ER for bronchitis is really expensive. So I want to give you an example. If we were a society that had no insurance and you just had to pay cash for your visit, if you go to your primary care provider for bronchitis or, I don't know, a sinus infection, it costs $100. You pay $100 out of pocket, okay? If you went to the ER, it would be about $350 out of pocket. Why? Because the cost to use an emergency room facility resources is so much higher than using that of a primary care office. And they charge you what they charge you for the bed in general to come in and visit in the ER, whether you have something as minimal as sinus infection or you broke your leg riding your bike. So just initial getting a bed in the ER and being seen by an ER doctor is going to cost, I don't know, $200. Okay, then you have a nurse. So to be seen by a nurse in a primary care office costs a primary care office, I don't know, let's just be arbitrary with numbers, $15. Well, in the hospital, it's about $200 just for the nurse to walk into your room. They're going to start an IV on you because they always have to start an IV on you because that's their policy. And an IV start costs, I think, like $250. I used to have to get them when I was pregnant, and my bill would also be like $800 just to get an IV and one bag of fluid. So, and then of course, if you're a vulnerable population, especially if you're impoverished, do you think you're going to be able to pay this ER bill? No. So who eats the cost? The hospital. Then the hospital has to charge more over time for the use of their resources. So they have found that if they can give health care to those in the community who usually can't afford it, help prevent these really expensive chronic illnesses within the community, they will lower health care costs overall. And so it began with people who were institutionalized. So mentally ill, they would start getting, if you were qualified as a mentally ill patient, you can get Medicare earlier. And so if you have Medicare, you can go see a doctor, and it gets covered, and your medications get covered. In prisons, they used to not offer very good health care, and now they realized we should offer good health care in our prisons so that it doesn't end up costing taxpayers more money when a prisoner gets super sick because they have to go to the emergency room. Because the risks that you are exposed to outside prison still occur inside prison. So the risk of colon cancer is just the same in prison as it is outside. So we still want to screen people for colon cancer in prison because if you catch it early, it costs less to treat, right? Socioeconomic problems, including poverty and social isolation, also affect your health status. So those who are socially isolated, maybe due to language impairment, mental illness, you're more likely to have health issues. So again, community nurses are really helpful in that because you can pinpoint those in the community who have issues with social isolation, maybe they can't walk and get to the doctor's office. You can bring health care to them. So they are now implementing a lot of house calls again, or bringing medivans to places that can provide care, because vulnerability can become cyclical. So community health nurses are really important with assessing vulnerable populations as well as educating vulnerable populations and researching vulnerable populations to help identify their needs and develop interventions and strategies to help break the cycle of vulnerability. Okay, so now we're actually going to go to chapter 24, talking about drug and alcohol abuse, because we touched on homeless, pregnant, and migrant worker while we discussed vulnerable populations. And I don't want to take up a ton of your time. So that's drug abuse. So alcohol, tobacco, and other drug problems in the community. It's really hard, you're bringing up this huge can of worms because some people think it's not a community responsibility to help those with substance abuse. But in the end, once someone is in the throes of substance abuse, it's highly unlikely that they're going to be able to help themselves because substance abuse is just this really terrible disease in the end. So substance abuse is a #1 national health problem, especially if you live in the northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio area, if you live south of there, southeast of there toward West Virginia border. Heroin abuse is actually at a #1 high within Adams County and also in Kentucky. I know in northern Kentucky they have the #1 incidence of death from heroin. And it's really terrible because substance abuse doesn't just affect the individual. I don't know what everyone's experiences with substance abuse, whether they had it themselves, they were affected by it by someone in their family, or they lived in a community where it ran rampant. I just know, based on statistics, and also seeing patients from the fallout of it, substance abuse just doesn't affect the individual, right? When you live in an area where heroin is super prevalent, that area is impoverished, the school districts are pretty terrible, there is so much crime, so even if you don't do heroin, you're still at risk of getting hurt as a result of said heroin. So it does become a community problem. It is a national health incident. Children who have parents who abuse drugs and alcohol are less likely to graduate from high school, are less likely to attend college, are less likely to live above the poverty line. And as we know, when you live below the poverty line, you directly have poorer health than those who live above it. So it does affect us nationally, and it is something that has to be dealt with in a community level. So when you look at substance abuse as a healthcare provider, you look at it as a health problem rather than a criminal problem, which can be really hard because there's people who have very strong opinions on substance abuse. I understand that, and I'm not here to try to change your mind. I'm not here to try to make you feel less whatever it is that you feel toward those who have substance abuse issues. But in abstractly, when we talk within healthcare, we look at substance abuse primarily as a health issue. Okay? So, who are at risk for substance abuse? Poverty is one, stress, fast-paced life, availability of drug influence, and then the incidence of substance abuse within a community. So if you grew up with someone in your household who abused drugs or alcohol, the likelihood of you abusing drugs and alcohol are higher than that of someone who wasn't. Excessive stress in your lifestyle, and not just stress because you have a high-stress job, but stress maybe for example, I had a patient the other day who just got out of prison, and he got clean in prison, and he is already just having a lot of stress providing for his family, and being out of prison is just hard on him because he's so used to being in prison, and he can't keep a job because he can't get a job, because of his prison status.